this is what I have to say about the Washouts.
You done fucked it up.
Let's just begin. So this episode begins with the Scootaloo ordering the Rainbow Dash fan club while Rainbow Dash is eavesdropping, but she quickly adjourns the meeting relatively fast and kicks everybody out, and we find out that Scootaloo has a new interest as she tears the stuff down and puts something up that's brand new.
I'd like to call to order the first ever meeting of the newest and most exciting club, of which I am the president, founding, and only member, the Washouts Fan Club!
Yeah, the reaction that everybody's making right now. So Rainbow Dash basically saying screw it and doesn't care that she's eavesdropping, busts into the clubhouse to figure out what Scootaloo is up to and what exactly is the Washouts.
The same question. Oh, stuff. Definitely not starting it when you say it out loud, and I probably shouldn't because eavesdropping is wrong, but still, why are you starting a new fan club? I just think maybe it's time for me to explore other fan clubs. What is the Washouts? Only the newest and greatest and only stunt troupe in Equestria.
Okay, so that's good to know. So the Washouts are basically like extreme sports type, like they're basically a stunt group as Scootaloo puts it. And basically, they're very dangerous stunts, and Rainbow Dash, of course, is a little hesitant about all this as she explains to the rest of the main six the next day.
She actually said that? Well, yeah, she's tapping on every meeting. Seems kind of weird. I mean, she basically said that the Wonderbolts aren't cool. And it kind of sounded like she didn't think us was cool either.
Well, honestly, if I'm going to be frank, Rainbow Dash, from the episodes that have been focusing on the Wonderbolts, the majority of them kind of prove that they're kind of dicks.
But we all know that's crazy. I mean, I'm definitely not worried about her looking up to somebody else. Nope, not at all.
Rainbow Dash being in denial.
Well, I'd understand if you were. It'd be like if Apple Bloom started loving bananas more than apples. Don't tell me that ever happened to you.
Okay, I'll give this episode this. It just gives me a couple of chuckles here and there. So basically we then get to see the actual show as Rainbow Dash initially complains about it because it's exactly the same thing as the Wonderbolts do, but then we actually get to see the Washouts perform with a lot of the very extremely and dangerous stuff as they basically then do the stunts as this announcer guy pretty much explained how they do it. Yeah, so basically, this is the squad that basically says, screw safety, we're just going to jump right into danger the first chance we get.
Remember, ponies, while they're amazingly awesome, the Washouts are highly trained professionals. Protective fireproof life suits. Do not try this at home.
And of course, you're going to make them try this at home. But yeah, it does give you an explanation of how the Washouts do it, and we see that how incredibly dangerous the stunts are. We do see how they're able to pull it off. It's kind of like the daredevils that you would see at the circus, where you're wondering, how the hell would they do these type of things without getting hurt? Though, I think I remember one time at the news, I think there was like a news airing at one time in Rhode Island where like a giant set of the circus like fell on top, and I think 12 people got injured. It was probably about like half a decade ago. I don't remember what it was, but something to keep in mind. But yeah, over the course of the excitement, Rainbow Dash actually gets into it, and after the show, she supports Scootaloo and tries to get them to sign autographs.
Go up and talk to them. You can if you're with me. After all, one of the reasons there's a Rainbow Dash fan club is because I'm fearless. Observe.
So proving that she's fearless, Rainbow Dash takes Scootaloo to talk to the other members of the Washouts.
Hey, as a professional, I really enjoyed your show. Actually, you might recognize me since I'm pause for dramatic effect. Hey, Wonderbolt.
Scootaloo is basically just a fangirling of when you meet your favorite actor or actress. It's just an absolute mood. But you might be wondering how one of the members says join the club. Well, we get the explanation as to why.
No, I mean literally, join the club. We're called the Washouts because we all used to be Wonderbolts just like you. Until we washed out.
No way!
Yeah. So it turns out the Washouts are actually 3 ex-Wonderbolts. And we get to hear each reason as to why each one of them got kicked out.
Yeah. Name's Rolling Thunder. I got booted out of Wonderbolt Academy because of flagrant disregard for hazardous weather. If doing barrel rolls through 900 million volts of electricity in a raging thunderstorm is wrong, then I don't want to be right.
Okay, I gotta admit, she's kind of a badass.
Cool.
This is Short Fuse.
Gee, I wonder why he has that name. So, Rolling Thunder and Short Fuse.
Oh, nice to meet you.
What's your story?
Reintroduced, get off my back!
Yeah, so basically Short Fuse has anger issues, which I can relate to, but I don't understand, unless Short Fuse, punched a senior member of the Wonderbolts that got him kicked out, that would be really nice to know, but obviously kids show, so they can't show violence, which honestly is kind of lame anyways, but...
Okay. So, who's the leader?
Only the most reckless ex-Wonderbolt of all time.
Oh yeah. So this was something that was brought up by the fandom when this episode first came out, and from what I heard, it was actually spoiled. But I didn't actually get to see any of that social media because I am not on Twitter. So yeah, basically you're wondering that because the Washouts were formed from ex-Wonderbolts members, you kind of get the sense, and when you see the design during the performance that was showing before, you might have noticed that one of the designs of the Washouts looks very familiar. Well, that's because it's... Oh. Yep. It's Lightning Dust. Remember the Pegasus pony back in the Season 3 episode Wonderbolt Academy that I said was basically Season 1 Rainbow Dash interacting with Season 3 Rainbow Dash? That reckless Wonderbolt? Yeah, she's the leader of the Washouts. And that was something that was spoiled for the fandom because people have been begging Hasbro and DHX to bring Lightning Dust back for about 5 seasons since her story was never really resolved. So, I'll give this episode this. It is interesting to see Lightning Dust back after 5 seasons.
Lightning Dust. Rainbow Dash. Scootaloo. Hi, Scootaloo. Hi.
So yeah, Lightning Dust is back, and she formed the Washouts as her and Rainbow Dash seem to be...
I should have known you were the brains behind a crazy idea like the Washouts. Or should I say, lack of brains. You two really know each other?
Okay, so far this episode doesn't necessarily seem all that bad with the reintroduction of Lightning Dust, and basically we do get to see some character growth and interactions between Scootaloo and Rainbow Dash, and the stunt shows the Washouts did, I gotta admit, is impressive. But we then come across our first major plot hole. And that is essentially that Scootaloo is not aware that Lightning Dust and Rainbow Dash have known each other. This is especially egregious given how Scootaloo made that giant presentation about Rainbow Dash getting into the Wonderbolts back in parental guidance. Now, one can make the argument that maybe Rainbow Dash didn't tell Scootaloo about Lightning Dust, and I haven't really looked back at the episode to see if Scootaloo even brought that up when she was explaining the story to Rainbow Dash's parents. But given who Rainbow Dash is and how her relationship with Scootaloo has come so far, You would think that would be something that Rainbow Dash would tell her, and it kind of makes you wonder why Scootaloo would forget something like that.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool! Your friend got me kicked out of the Wonder Bowl. Oh, that's, less cool.
Yeah, that kind of bothers me. Hearing Scootaloo just say, oh, that is less cool, when she seems to forget, I feel like, as I said, it would have been nice to know if Rainbow Dash would have told her this and told her about lightning dust and just let her know how dangerous and reckless that she was from what we saw in Wonderbolt Academy. I mean, how did she forget all that stuff considering how much Rainbow Dash had to go through to be even considered a lead pony? Like I said, it's those kind of plot holes that start to bog the episode down.
And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Great to see you, Wing Pony. I heard you're a full-fledged Bolt now. Yeah, well, I'm still mad at me. Look, was it wrong of me to endanger the lives of your friends? Yeah, but hey, now I only endanger these knuckleheads.
So, yeah. So, basically So it seems that Lightning Dust and Rainbow Dash, from what we see of them so far, they're still pretty civil towards each other. And apparently her getting kicked out of the Wonderbolts was actually a good thing for her, so Lightning Dust now can be as reckless as much as she wants to be, and that Rolling Thunder and Short Fuse can be enjoyed basically doing all these dangerous stunts with her.
Come on, you know you miss me. Me and her, we flew every pony out of the sky. Really? Actually, yeah, really. All that wind was totally dangerous, but we had fun, right? 2 fastest times on the Digitron. If I remember correctly, I had you beat by half a second.
Yeah, so it is actually nice to know that Rainbow Dash and Lightning Dust's rivalry is not out of, like, bigger angerness. Yes. Even though it's very clear that they haven't seen each other in a long time, I feel like that they seem to have a bit of mutual respect for one another, and I really do like that, and I really like how Rainbow Dash is not, like, bitterly angry at seeing Lightning Dust again. They seem to have some kind of middle ground truce.
Only because when I win, I cranked up the dizziness factor. Well, I'm glad it all worked out. Your show was pretty dynamite. Wanna know the secret? We basically ignore everything the Wonderbolts ever taught us about safety.
Yeah, so I think there's a pretty clear reason why Lightning Dust was kicked out, and especially what we had saw. But basically it's clear that the reason that Lightning Dust does this adrenaline is basically just says, screw the rules, we're just going to do these dangerous things even if we get seriously hurt. So that's an immediate red flag. And then we get...
So they can feel good about them. All their rules were just ways of keeping their little club exclusive so they can feel good about themselves.
Yeah, and considering that you were also the same pony that basically didn't care about said rules and had no problems with endangering innocent bystanders.
It's not about making any pony feel bad. It's about finding the best flight. The best of the best. I started the Washouts because I believe any pony can be the best of the best. No. Rolling Thunder is going to be out for a while.
I really don't like where this is going.
No, I don't.
During the finale, I caught the old hind leg and the crushinated jaws of Smash-A-Lot. That's ending.
There's a spot on the team if you want to join up.
So Scootaloo wants to volunteer to be part of the Washouts, and of course Rainbow Dash is completely hesitant about the whole thing.
You're following me. Where are we going? To hear what the actual Wonderbolts think about you joining just to drop out from the Washouts. Say hi to Spitfire for me.
Yeah, so because of this reckless behavior, Rainbow Dash decides to bring Scootaloo over to Wonderbolt Academy, but Scootaloo doesn't really seem to care. Here. Because she's more so involved about the dangerous stunts, and so we do get this humorous bit with basically Spitfire, as Rainbow Dash basically tells her what's happening, and I'm assuming she probably told her about lightning dust, so we get, admittedly, this humorous bit.
I got this. You know what happens when something goes wrong with the Crushinator jaws of Smash-A-Lot? Patent pending. You end up in a full-body winged hoop cat drinking through a straw. But with enough practice, well, let me give you a different scenario. You're probably saying to yourself, I'm young, I'm strong, I'm gonna go out there and stunt some tricks with my new friend, Lightning Dust. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you play that game, you're gonna find out it's pretty hard to stunt tricks in a full-body winged hoop cat breaking through a straw.
Okay, I gotta admit, this definitely gave me a bit of a laugh. I feel like a Spitfire's voice actor must have been having a field day when recording those lines. But I think also telling Scootaloo these lines would have gotten her the message.
You little scumbag! I got your name! I got your ass! You will not laugh! You will not cry! You will learn by the numbers! I will teach you! Now get up! Get on your feet! You had best unfuck yourself or I will unscrew your head and get down your neck!
Yeah, I think she would have gotten that.
I think she gets the point. Listen, I get it, kid. I used to be like you, telling myself I'm gonna touch the sky. I know. Well, whoop-de-doo-doo. You think you got it made in the shade? Well, things are gonna be pretty shady indeed when you can't go out in the sun, 'cause you're in a full-body winged hoop cat breaking through a straw. Do I make myself clear?
Okay, I don't think anyone would have taken her seriously after that point. But even after all that, even when Rainbow Dash goes back to the clubhouse to take out all the washout stuff, Scootaloo disappears and Rainbow Dash practically tries to find her, but then runs into Twilight.
Oh, sorry, Twilight? Sorry, I was just, Please tell me you got that stuff so you could rip it up and throw it off a cliff? They were doing an autograph session before practice. Seriously?
So Twilight and Rainbow Dash basically go off to find Scootaloo as we get this mature conversation.
That's kind of the whole draw. It's exciting. But it's like, the harder I try to convince Scoot they're dangerous, the more she likes them. You can't control her actions. Only yours. Teach her what's safe and what isn't, like a good role model. Then hope she makes the right decision.
Yeah, so this episode, I gotta admit, it does teach a very poignant lesson where basically from what we know of Scootaloo and Rainbow Dash's relationship, we basically see how far they basically come in their relationship, where we see Rainbow Dash wants to do everything she can to protect her, but at the end of the day, Scootaloo is her own foe, and that she has to make her own decisions. It really adds a new dynamic to this relationship that I really do appreciate.
But what if she chooses them over me? She's gonna get hurt. I think I know somebody else who might get hurt if that happens. Maybe you're right. But this isn't about me. I'm just worried about Scoot.
Yeah. So you're probably wondering, so far there doesn't really seem to be a lot to be angry about aside from the previous plot holes that I mentioned, so why am I not considering this a great episode like some others? Well, let's just kind of get into it as we then cut to the show where the Washouts are practicing, and that's for the sake of this joke.
Wow, you're really working hard on this new stunt.
What kind of story is still expecting me to deal with this is? Why are you screaming over me?
I had to make that.
Sorry, Dash. Autograph session's over. Unless you want to buy Short Fuse's limited edition Happy Tomato Sandwich.
Okay, and bitch Lightning Dust has returned.
I'm not signing that abomination!
You haven't seen Scootaloo, have you? Oh, isn't she that pony that used to respect you?
Yep, the bitch Lightning Dust is back.
I'd appreciate you you helping me find her. I apologize for trying to make her quit liking you. Oh, I'm pretty sure she still likes us.
Yeah, and then we find out that Scootaloo joins the Washouts. Like I said, I am not a huge fan of where this is going.
I know we go way back, but I can't let her do this. I don't need you standing up for me. Obviously you do, because you can't see how dangerous this is. You don't remember what Spitfire said? Oh, let me guess. You'll be in a full-body wing and hubcap, and you will strong. That doesn't even sound like Spitfire. That's it. We're leaving. Just because I look up to you doesn't mean I have to see you. But based on your definition of what makes some pony great, I have bad news. I'll never be the best of the best or wonderful because I can't fly.
Damn. That is hard to listen to. This just seeing Scootaloo bring out that realization and now just accepting this and that this was no other option for her, this is just heartbreaking to watch. Like I said, this adds another dynamic to the relationship where even though Scootaloo does look up to Rainbow Dash, from what we have seen of her, the reality is that she can't fly. So her basically pulling out all of her frustration and explaining this to Rainbow Dash is definitely a little heart-wrenching watch, and I think it's something that this episode should be commended for.
Is that what you wanted to hear? But not being able to fly doesn't mean I can't do something awesome, like strapping my scooter to a multi-stage liquid fuel rocket and jumping 22 wagons lined up in front of a roaring crowd. That was awfully specific. That's because it's what she'll be doing in the show tonight.
Okay, now this is where the problems where I really start to not like the episode. Now, like I said, other than those occasional plot holes, there hasn't really been anything wrong with the episode itself. Up until now, this point, because even though, yes, it is very clear that Lightning Dust wants to put on the show, and that she is this daredevil that wants to see the danger, the fact that she's putting a child to do this stunt raises tons and tons of red flags, and it kind of makes you wonder why the Washouts are about to get sued for child endangerment. So we then basically cut to later that night when the show actually happens, and wait a minute. Still clouds, and it's still daytime. It's not night. It's not night. It's not fucking night.
Sorry for making us late again. Scootaloo, super difficult stunt special touch.
So the show begins, and now we get to the point where basically, let's just do it. So Lightning Dust then explains the stunt.
Sledding down that hill, up that ramp, and over all 22 wagons to land on the other side in one piece. It's lucky.
Okay. You probably noticed that I haven't talked a lot about Lightning Dust, because this is the thing. I understand what the writers are doing. That Lightning Dust, not basically more focused on putting on the show and being reckless as possible without any safety precautions or any testing, it does make her a bit hard to watch, and that you think she would have slightly changed. On the one hand, I do appreciate the show for not having Lightning Dust be another redeemed former villain, because, let's be honest here, nowadays, we don't really have a lot of villains that are just straight up assholes nowadays. But at the same time, because that she just basically says screw the rules and goes headstrong into danger, she does not care about the fact that she's putting a child at risk as potentially crippling her for life. Is no one else having this red flag but me? moment where basically Scootaloo sees the rocket and is starting to have some reservations.
That sure is dangerous? Nah. Well, maybe a little. Has any pony tested it before? Where's the fun in that?
Again, is no one else having this issue? Yes, and I get it. It's refreshing that we don't get a reformed villain, and it's nice to see just a regular antagonist like Lightning Dust. But the fact of the matter is, and I hate to keep harping on this, she is putting a literal child in the line of danger and potentially crippling her for life. Does no one else have a problem with this?
There's more? You're not thinking of backing out, are you?
Okay, and on top of that, she's also a manipulator. Okay, so I just need to get something first and foremost because there's something I want to say to Lightning Dust while she does this. But, like I said, this is why I have mixed feelings about this. As I said, on the one hand, I do appreciate... Sorry, I'm trying to get my head... I'm trying to wrap my head around this whole thing. Because, like I said, I have mixed feelings about this, about Lightning Dust. On the one hand, I do appreciate the show for not basically having a character that is completely reformed and just a character that's just still a straight up douchebag. That's the one thing I will give this episode. That's the only thing on the one hand. On the other hand, I don't appreciate the fact that Lightning Dust basically is not only manipulating, but also potentially putting a child in the line of danger.
No! I'm just thinking about drinking through straws. Are you the president of my fan club, or not?
I think you're the president of Douchebag Planet, or the queen of the bitches. That's what I'd probably base it on.
Of course. It's just you wouldn't want to get impeached for dishonoring my wishes, would you?
Okay, I hate her again.
Is that a thing? Light it up!
And she sets the wagons on fire!
Oh, okay. Well, I am thinking about backing out. Too late.
So yes, Lightning Dust basically then decides to say screw it and throw Scootaloo into the line of danger without any hesitation and feels no remorse about it. Thankfully, Rainbow Dash basically comes in to save the day as nobody is wondering why Lightning Dust is not suffering any consequences for potentially almost putting a child in danger.
Let you make your own decisions, but that doesn't mean I can't swoop in and save you from time to time. If I'd known you were gonna bail, I would have done the trick myself.
Just fall, you mother. Fall. 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 Fall.
Alright, so thankfully Lightning Dust does get some comeuppance where basically the rocket ended up tying onto a rope and Lightning Dust's leg gets caught up in it. Or as far as I'm concerned, the rocket goes careening towards into space all the way to the sun and we never see Lightning Dust ever again. That's my version of how the story went because that's how I feel about how Lightning Dust after this moment.
Wouldn't have it any other way. I'm sorry for joining the Washouts. Lightning Dust wasn't who I thought she was. She didn't care about me being scared or putting me in danger. She only wanted a good show, even if it meant I got hurt.
Yeah, no shit. I wonder why.
That's not the kind of pony I want to look up to. I'm the one who should be apologizing for not acting like some pony who deserves a fan club. I've been lucky enough to have some pony who thinks I'm the coolest. But there's nothing cool about making you feel like you'll never be as awesome as me.
Okay, so this is why I'm mixed about this episode because basically the whole concept of the Washouts, when you really think about it, raises a ton of red flags. And of course, Lightning Dust at that final act makes it seem like she's gone way too far, where you just want to see her face some sort of consequences. But then this episode does try to balance everything out with basically lessons like this, and just seeing how far Scootaloo and Rainbow Dash relationship has come since Sleepless in Ponyville back in Season 3. Yeah. So it basically feels like this episode has been taking several steps forward, but taking several steps backwards.
I think we should cancel the Washouts fan club, because I know a fan club that could use some new members.
And I think the Washouts are probably going to get sued for child endangerment and probably get disbanded, because as I'm assuming that's what happened. So Rainbow Dash then decides to form the Scootaloo fan club, where basically she forms a club with all the ponies that admire Scootaloo, as we see Twilight and Scootaloo watching from the window.
You know, Rainbow Dash was right. Shopping on your own fan club isn't weird at all.
Okay, so that's the Washouts, and I'll give this episode this. It did give us something that at least made the episode more interesting than pretty much the entirety bunch of episodes that I have watched outside of Heartswarming Club. But I'm sorry, I don't see this as a good episode. Granted, it is not the worst, but it's really not that great. Okay, so let me just say this. Positive-wise, I will say this. I get what the episode is trying to do. I do like the fact that we do get to dive more into Rainbow Dash and Scootaloo's relationship, and we do see what makes this relationship not only relatable, but see it just a little bit more complex. Seeing Scootaloo come out of her own and making her more of a three-dimensional character aside from just idolizing Rainbow Dash. And it's something that I think Rainbow Dash would probably need to learn as well. So it is nice to see the both relationships to go both ways. And I do like what this episode is teaching. The issues that I have is with the Washouts. Now, another positive I will say, like I said, I'm kind of glad that they didn't really reform Lightning Dust all that well, because really we're kind of missing antagonists that, like I said, are just straight up assholes. So it's actually kind of refreshing that we don't see Lightning Dust reformed. And I do like the side characters of the Washouts, as there were basically a bunch of jokes in this episode that did leave me in stitches. The issue that I have is with that final third act. Now, this could be the same problem as it was with Marks for Efforts. However, unlike Marks for Efforts, nobody was hitting the head with the idiot stick because it was something different that I could appreciate. However, I cannot get past the fact that Lightning Dust was willing to say, screw the rules, and just must be willing to throw Scootaloo into danger, no questions asked, and basically he didn't care in the slightest that she could have potentially harmed a child. How no one else has this issue, I will not understand. It's because of these issues, and on top of that, the previously mentioned plot holes of how Scootaloo doesn't recognize Lightning Dash from the stories that she learned from Rainbow Dash, and on top of that, doing that entire report on Rainbow Dash, I will not understand. It feels like this episode took several steps forward and then took several steps backwards. Now, was this episode better than the past string of episodes that I've reviewed? Yes. Would I recommend this episode to watch? No, because I guess really at the end of the day, I guess you could say I have a love-hate relationship with this episode, where there are things that I like about the episode and some of which I love, but then there are things about this episode that I'm really disgusted with, and how nobody else is facing serious consequences, and again, especially Lightning Dust, other than that one-off head, because I like to believe she ends up in a full-body cast, drinking through a straw like the episode said after that stunt. Alright, so final ranking. What would I give this episode? Like I said, I feel that the Washouts for me, I think I have a love-hate relationship with this episode. And I think at the end of the day, the only fair thing that I could do is give it a C+. It's not the worst episode because there are things about this episode I do like, and some of which I found enjoy. But then there are some episodes. Then there's some things about this episode that just drag it down for me, and that's why I can't consider it a good episode like some other reviewers. So as a whole, it's probably about a C+. That's the only fair thing I could do. So at the end of the day, it's not particularly bad, but it's not particularly good. So the Washouts is a C+, middle of the road, and that's pretty much just been the theme of Season 8, that I feel like just either the middle of the road or bad episodes are now starting to take over, and it just seems to never fucking end with me. Okay. So like I said, so final rating, Washouts, C+. I have a love-hate relationship with this episode. Alright. Am I ever going to get the light out of this tunnel yet? Alright, so next time we are going to be looking at a rock hoof in a hard place. See you guys next time. Bye.